Hey there, my friend. I can't tell you how glad I am that you're watching this, and if you decide to subscribe afterward, I'll be even more thankful. Honestly, it would mean everything to me. Anyway, let's get into it. You ever been in a room where everyone else is laughing, but you're frozen, stuck in your own silence? That's exactly where I found myself, at the company's annual talent show. One of those goofy little events where people wear cheap paper crowns, belt out bad karaoke, and mimic celebrities no one can name. Supposed to be harmless fun. I wasn't planning to stick around after work. 5 o'clock hits, I'm usually gone. But Rachel wouldn't let it go. She kept insisting we go together. Said it'd be cute. What she didn't bother to mention, she signed up to perform. I was leaning against the back wall when she walked on stage, half listening, sipping ginger ale from one of those flimsy cups, barely paying attention. Then she leaned into the microphone and said, "Being married to Mason is like downloading a workout app. Looks good on paper, but you still end up exercising alone." The room fell quiet for half a heartbeat. Then came the laughter, loud, long, sharp enough to cut. I didn't move, couldn't, just stared at her, standing under those bright lights. My wife of 6 years, wearing the blouse I bought her last Christmas, smiling like she'd just cashed in on some private bet. Our eyes met. She winked. I stood up. "Mason," she called after me, microphone still hot. I didn't answer, just walked straight out. The hallway outside smelled faintly of floor polish, posters peeling at the edges, empty coat racks leaning against chipped walls. I kept going until I heard her heels hitting the floor behind me. Fast, sharp, urgent. "Mason, wait! Don't do this!" I turned, heat rising in my chest. Don't do what? Get humiliated in front of the entire office? It was just a joke. No, Rachel, a chicken crossing the road is a joke. That was a knife wrapped in a punchline. She folded her arms. You're seriously blowing this out of proportion. I laughed, sharp, bitter. Out of proportion? You just turned our marriage into water cooler gossip? You think Scott from accounting isn't going to crack jokes every Monday? Hey man, still training alone? She looked away. I stepped closer. You wrote that down ahead of time, didn't you? You planned it. Her lips parted, then shut again. The flicker of guilt was quick, but I saw it. Unbelievable, I muttered. You actually planned this. I was just trying to liven things up, she said quietly, defensive. Everyone looked bored. I thought maybe if I teased you, you'd laugh too. You thought I'd laugh at you calling me a failed husband in front of 50 coworkers? I thought you'd laugh because you'd know I didn't mean it. Don't you? Do I shot back. Because lately, Rachel, I'm not sure I know anything about you. Her voice cracked as it rose. Oh, come on. You barely even look at me anymore. You come home, eat, sit in front of the TV. When's the last time you even touched me? I froze. The words hit harder than I expected. So this was revenge? Her expression faltered. Regret flickered in her face for the first time. I didn't mean... No, I cut her off. I get it now. I turned and started walking. She reached for my arm, but I shook her off. People were spilling out of the event room behind us, whispering, glancing. As I passed, I swear someone muttered, "Man, if that were me, I'd be on the couch tonight." I didn't stop, didn't look back. Something inside me cracked, and it wasn't the kind of break that heals. The drive home was quiet. I took the long way back, headlights blurring through city streets while her words looped in my head. A solo sport. Over and over, like a bad song I couldn't shut off. In the garage, I sat there for a minute, staring at the ceiling, before heading upstairs to the 27th floor. Rachel was already there, cross-legged on the couch, barefoot now, her heels dumped by the door. A half-full glass of wine balanced on her knee. She glanced up as I walked in, tried on a casual smile. Hey, you left fast. I didn't answer, just dropped my keys in the bowl by the counter and stared at her. It wasn't that bad, Mason, she said finally. It was humiliating. The smile slipped, but there was no apology in her eyes. People laughed, she said weakly. Yeah, I replied, because you gave them permission to. She sighed, set her glass down. Okay, you're obviously upset. Upset? I barked a laugh. Upset was 10 minutes ago. Right now I'm somewhere between insulted and disgusted. God, you're so dramatic. No, I said evenly. I'm just being honest. Something you've stopped being. Her arms folded. Her voice dropped. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've been pretending everything's fine, telling myself this is just a rough patch. But tonight, you didn't just cross a line, Rachel. You sprinted past it. Oh, so this is about your pride, she shot back. You've always cared too much about what people think. Says the woman who rehearsed a roast just to impress the interns. Her jaw tightened. I didn't rehearse. Don't lie to me. Silence. Then, quietly, fine. Maybe I ran it by someone. So what? It's called preparing. Who? I asked immediately. She hesitated. Nobody. Just people at work. Who, Rachel? I stepped closer. Steve? You sure laugh a lot with him in conference rooms. Her eyes went wide. Oh my God, are we really doing this? Maybe we should have done this a year ago. She grabbed her glass again, drank deep, pointed it at me. You've been phoning in this marriage for months. I make one joke and suddenly I'm the villain? No, I said, voice calm but cold. You made one joke that said what you've been thinking but never had the guts to say. Her tone sharpened. What exactly are you accusing me of? I stared at her. Quietly it clicked, like a lock sliding into place. Not accusing, just finally seeing it for what it is. Her face twisted. Oh, so now you're the martyr? Poor Mason, betrayed by the evil wife who dared to make a joke. Call it whatever you want, I said, walking toward the bedroom. You knew exactly what you were doing. I closed the door behind me, leaned against it. The silence felt heavy. Across the room, our wedding photo sat on the dresser. The two of us on that pier in Michigan, her leaning into me, my arms wrapped around her like that could hold everything together. I stared at it for a long moment, then turned the frame face down. Morning came without a word. She handed me coffee like a stranger handing change across a diner counter. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just a hollow, here, and a glance that didn't linger. I drank in silence, watched her pour almond milk over her cereal like last night had been erased. At 8, she grabbed her laptop bag, brushed a kiss near my cheek, not on it, and left. Her heels echoed down the hallway like punctuation marks at the end of a sentence. I waited 10 minutes, then picked up my keys. She'd left her lunch in the fridge, grilled chicken, arugula, balsamic on the side. The same thing she always forgot and always complained about by noon. Normally, I would have walked away, pretended not to notice. But not today. Something in me demanded I act differently. Maybe I needed to remind myself of the man I used to be, the one who believed broken things were worth mending. So I packed her lunch with care, slipped in her favorite ginger soda, and made the 20-minute drive to her office. She worked in one of those pristine glass towers along Wacker Drive. I'd only been there twice before. Once for a company holiday party and once when she forgot her laptop charger. Both times she'd looked uneasy, like my presence was unexpected, maybe even inconvenient. I parked on the curb, grabbed the lunch bag from the passenger seat, and started toward the lot. That's when I saw it. A black SUV, windows tinted dark. One was rolled down just enough for sunlight to frame her hair. Rachel, sitting in the passenger seat, laughing, and then she kissed him. Not a quick, meaningless peck, not a slip or an accident. This kiss was deliberate, measured, the kind you share with someone who knows every inch of you, the kind you've practiced. I froze. The lunch bag slid from my hand and hit the pavement with a soft thud. I barely noticed. Her eyes were closed now, leaning into him. His hand brushed her cheek. Something inside me cracked. Not loud, not messy, but sharp, like a bone snapping clean through. My first reaction wasn't fury. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was clarity. I stayed rooted there for half a minute, just long enough to memorize the curve of her smile, the tilt of her head toward him. Long enough to wonder if she'd laughed like that with me lately, or if I'd stopped paying attention. Then I turned, walked back to my truck. No one saw. No one stopped me. I climbed inside, gripped the steering wheel, and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. This was it. Not the late-night arguments, not the silent dinners, not even the growing distance. This moment, the kiss, was where our marriage ended. And strangely, I didn't cry, didn't shout, didn't slam my fists. I just sat there, hollow but steady, as the truth settled into place like heavy stones. She'd left long before this moment. I was simply the last to notice. There's a strange quiet after betrayal, like your mind wraps itself in cotton, dulling every sharp edge. That's how it felt driving back 20 minutes later. The lunch bag was still lying where I'd dropped it. I wasn't scheming, not planning revenge. I wasn't thinking at all. But when I opened the truck bed, my eyes landed on the tire iron beside the jumper cables. Black steel, cold to the touch, meant for roadside emergencies. Apparently, this counted. I grabbed it and walked straight to the black SUV, same one I'd seen her in minutes earlier. I didn't check if they were still inside. I didn't need to. I already knew. The first swing was silent. The shatter came a second later, rear passenger window exploding outward, shards scattering across asphalt like ice. No car alarms, no gasps, just people staring. Inside, a man jolted upright, her coworker, eyes wide, scrambling. Rachel spilled out of the passenger seat as if the vehicle had burst into flames. "Mason!" she screamed. Her heels clattered against pavement as she rushed toward me, blouse rumpled, hair undone. "What are you doing?" I didn't respond. Tire iron hanging loose at my side, calm as dawn. "Mason, stop! Have you lost your mind?" I tilted my head. "You tell me. You can't just smash someone's car." "Relax," I said evenly. "I'll pay for the window. Consider it severance." "Mason, please!" A crowd was forming now, phones out, whispers rising. No one intervened. For once, I didn't care who watched. I locked eyes with her. "You kissed him," I said, flat and final. Her mouth opened, closed, hands trembling. "You knew I'd see." "It was," she faltered. "It didn't mean anything, I swear." "Rachel," I said quietly, blade sharp, "don't insult me with that." Her expression collapsed, half panic, half shame. I didn't plan it." "Then you're even more careless than I thought." She stepped closer, pleading. "Please, not here." "You already did this here." Behind her, the coworker climbed out of the SUV, awkward and ghost-like in daylight. "Mason," he started, hands raised. "I didn't mean—" "Walk away." I cut him off without looking. He hesitated, then backed off. Smart man. Rachel turned back to me, tears brimming now. "You can't just throw everything away," she whispered. I lowered the tire iron, setting it on the ground as gently as glass. "I'm not ending it," I said. "You did. I'm just calling it what it is." Then I walked past her, past the gawking crowd, past the ruins of what I once called my life, and for the first time in months I felt calm, not happy, not triumphant, just clear. And sometimes that's enough. The apartment greeted me with silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind that lingers after something permanent breaks. I didn't bother with the lights. The dim glow from the hallway was enough to see everything. Nothing had changed. The blanket she always draped over the couch arm, her coffee mug abandoned by the sink. The crooked print she swore gave the room character. Same apartment, different man walking through it. I went straight to the closet and pulled out the navy duffel we used for weekend trips. That version of us felt like someone else's memory. I packed slow, 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, sneakers, a watch she'd given me for an anniversary. Why I still cared to take it, I couldn't say, just enough to get by. Back in the kitchen, I slipped off my wedding ring, rolled it between my fingers, felt its familiar weight, then set it on the counter. No drama, no ceremony, just a soft click against the surface, a sound sharper than I expected. I was zipping the bag when the front door burst open. Keys hit the floor. Her voice, shaky, panicked. "Mason, wait, don't go." I didn't answer, didn't look up. She crossed the room quickly, grabbing my arm. You can't just leave, she pleaded. We're not finished. I think we are. Her breath stuttered. It didn't mean anything. That kiss. You know it wasn't what it looked like. I finally looked at her, eyes red, lip trembling, hair pulled back like she'd armored herself for a fight and lost halfway through. You humiliated me, I said softly. At your office, in front of everyone. And while I was trying to do something kind, you were already gone. I wasn't, she whispered, voice breaking. I swear I wasn't. I knew I'd crossed a boundary. I won't pretend otherwise. But anger had been eating at me for weeks, and you'd been distant for even longer. I wanted to force something out of you, rage, regret, anything at all. And I got exactly what I provoked. Her posture crumpled, like a balloon losing air. You're really leaving? I've already packed a bag, Rachel. What do you think? She started pacing, clutching at her hair like movement could tether me in place. Where are you even going to stay? Kyle's place, just until I figure out me. You don't have to do this. I need to. Her arms fell limp at her sides. I didn't cheat, she whispered. Not really. It wasn't an affair. Not all the way. Stop. If you just listen. I stepped forward. You mocked me in front of your co-workers, Rachel. You told them being with me was like playing solitaire. Then you kissed another guy, on purpose. Don't tell me it wasn't real. You chose that, not me. Tears broke past her composure. I thought we were done screaming, she said softly. I thought we were at the part where you forgive me, where we start patching this up. You only wanted to fix us, I said, after I stopped begging you to. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I hoisted the duffel onto my shoulder and walked toward the door. She didn't chase me, didn't even move. Mason, she called once more, voice cracking. Please. I opened the door. Take care of yourself. When the lock clicked behind me, it didn't sound like a door closing. It sounded like a chapter slamming shut. Kyle didn't ask why I showed up at his door with a duffel bag and hollow eyes. He just stepped aside, handed me a beer, and pointed toward the spare room. That's the kind of friend he was. His condo sat above the river, bare brick walls, steel fixtures, all industrial edges and no warmth. Rachel always said his place felt temporary. But that night, it felt like shelter. I didn't cry, didn't rant. I just stared at the ceiling, listening to the low hum of traffic and distant train horns. Steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat I'd forgotten was there. Morning hit hard. I stood in front of the mirror, toothbrush in hand, barely recognizing the man staring back. The shadows under my eyes weren't from one sleepless night. They were from months, maybe years, of slow erosion. I dragged myself to the gym for the first time in forever. Lifted until my arms shook. Pushed past the burn, past the noise in my head, until the only sound left was my breath. That night I slept. 7 uninterrupted hours. Dreamless, quiet. The next morning, Rachel texted, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we talk? I read it. Didn't reply. Later. I keep checking the door thinking you'll walk in. I can't eat. I can't sleep. Still nothing. By day 3, the calls started. My phone buzzing like a guilty conscience, ignored every time. Kyle noticed. You gonna answer that? No. He studied me for a moment, then pushed a stack of poker chips toward me. Fair enough. We played until past midnight. It felt normal, almost good. He cracked a joke about Steve from HR butchering Sweet Caroline at karaoke, and I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. That laugh felt like oxygen. On day 5, I bought a journal. At first, the pages stayed blank. Then came scribbles, then full entries, memories, questions, half-formed lyrics I hadn't thought of in years. Not therapy, not art, just space. Rachel kept texting. I miss your laugh. Do you still think of me when it rains? Can we go back to how it was? The answer to all 3 was the same. No. Because in the quiet, I'd realized something. It wasn't just that she betrayed me. I'd betrayed myself. I'd accepted her distance, her excuses, her half-hearted apologies, clinging to a version of us that no longer existed. But people don't rewind. They change. They drift. Sometimes they're gone long before they actually leave. By then, Rachel's calls came nightly, 5, 6 times. Her name lighting my phone like a flare in the dark. Once I almost answered. Almost. But then I remembered the parking lot. The kiss. The look on her face. Not guilt, not remorse. Panic. Panic that I saw her. Not panic that she did it. That difference mattered. I wasn't pleading anymore, wasn't performing. I was building something, quietly, patiently, without her permission. And every ignored message became another brick in the wall between who I'd been and who I was becoming. Then came the text I didn't delete. I booked us a session, couples therapy, tomorrow at 3, just once. You owe me that much. The word owe landed wrong, but curiosity won, not hope. Just curiosity about what she'd say when someone else was listening. I arrived early. The office sat on the 4th floor of a renovated brownstone. Exposed beams, muted tones, lavender mist drifting from a diffuser like it could soften what was about to unravel. Rachel showed up on time, fresh blowout, subtle makeup, like she was interviewing for the role of wife again, like appearances still mattered more than honesty. She gave me a cautious smile and sat at a careful distance. The therapist, Dr. Geller, introduced herself in a calm, even voice, honed by years of watching couples splinter. She looked about 50, kind eyes, no-nonsense posture. So, Dr. Geller began, why don't we start with why you're here? Rachel jumped in immediately. I made a mistake, a big one, and I want to make it right. I didn't look at her, just stared at the steam curling up from the mug in my hands. Can you tell me what happened? Dr. Geller asked. Rachel hesitated. There was an incident at work. A joke I made. It got blown out of context. I raised an eyebrow. Out of context? Dr. Geller turned to me. Mason? She told her coworkers that being with me is basically a solo act, I said flatly. Then she kissed another guy in a parking lot. Dr. Geller looked to Rachel. Is that accurate? Rachel's jaw tightened. Yes, but it wasn't planned. I was angry. I was hurt. He was hurt. I was hurt, I echoed, finally meeting her eyes. She flinched. Rachel, Dr. Geller said gently, when you made that joke, what reaction were you hoping for? Rachel gave a hollow laugh. I wanted them to laugh. I thought maybe he'd laugh too. I tilted my head. So you humiliated me for strangers' approval? I panicked, she snapped. I froze, okay? And yeah, maybe I wanted a reaction. You got one. The silence thickened until it felt like weight. Mason, Dr. Geller asked, how did that moment change things for you? I didn't pause. That's when I stopped being her husband. The air froze. Rachel stared at me, stunned. You can't just say that. I can, I said quietly, because it's true. Her voice cracked. So that's it? One mistake and you're done? I leaned forward, voice steady. It wasn't just a mistake. It was you choosing attention over my dignity. You didn't just hurt me. You enjoyed it. You watched me shatter and smiled. Dr. Geller didn't speak. She didn't have to. Rachel looked down, tears spilling. I didn't know it would cost this much. And yet, I said, standing, you still made the bet. The session ended early. I walked out without waiting for her. Some endings don't need closing statements. It ended the moment honesty finally broke through. The sessions that followed blurred into one another, hazy, indistinct, like rain smearing across a windshield, stilted conversations, long silences, too many cups of tea cooling untouched. I kept showing up, not from hope, but because I wanted to see what she would do next. Rachel had treated it like a performance at first, always early, unfailingly polite. She'd compliment Dr. Geller's office, arrive wrapped in delicate gold jewelry, dressed like someone still convinced image could redeem substance. But by the 3rd week, something cracked. She came in late, no makeup, no jewelry, hair barely tied back, and she couldn't bring herself to look at either of us when she sat down. Dr. Geller noticed right away. Tough morning? Rachel gave a humorless laugh. Tough month. Her eyes lifted then, not to the therapist, but straight to me. I've been thinking, she began, her tone deliberate. About what you said, that the joke ended us. I stayed silent. I don't think that's true, she said, voice tightening. I think you ended it long before that. There it was, the shift, blame wrapped in confession. Go on, Dr. Geller prompted softly. Rachel clasped her hands. Mason was gone long before the joke, before the kiss, before anything. He stopped reaching for me. Her gaze locked on mine. You stopped asking how I was. You'd come home and barely speak. I felt invisible, abandoned. I swallowed. You're right, I admitted quietly. I did start pulling away. Surprise flickered across her face. She hadn't expected me to say that, but I didn't stop there. I pulled away because you turned our home into an audience. Every time I tried to talk, you deflected, made jokes, made me feel small. You wanted applause, not partnership. Rachel looked down, but Dr. Geller leaned forward. When you made that joke, she asked Rachel, calm but firm, and later kissed someone else, did you believe those choices were justified by Mason's distance? Rachel shifted uncomfortably. I don't know. I didn't feel seen. And when someone else looked at me like I mattered, I got swept up. That's understandable, Dr. Geller said. But understandable isn't the same as excusable. The words landed heavy. Rachel blinked, stunned. Excuse me? You said you didn't feel seen, the therapist replied evenly. So you turned your marriage into theater and kissed a colleague. That wasn't about being seen. That was about control. Rachel's voice wavered. That's not fair. Fair, I said quietly, was never part of your vocabulary. Not until now. Rachel stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Tears welled, but anger burned hotter. I can't do this, she muttered. Dr. Geller didn't stop her, just watched, patient, like someone witnessing a test they knew would happen eventually. I didn't come here to be ambushed, Rachel hissed. No, I said, rising too. You came here to be forgiven without earning it. She grabbed her coat and stormed out. The door closed with a trembling click. You okay? Dr. Geller asked quietly. I nodded. I'm not here for her anymore. A faint, knowing smile crossed her face. I can tell. Outside, the wind had picked up, but for the first time in months, it didn't feel cold. The house was silent when the email came. I was alone on Kyle's balcony, the city glittering below like fractured stars. Warm air drifted through the open door. I hadn't touched my inbox all day, but something made me check it. Subject line. One last thing. Her name beside it, like a ghost refusing to leave. I opened it. It wasn't short. I've been thinking about us, it began. I wonder if I took for granted how steady you were. You never shouted, you never blamed. I mistook that calm for distance when maybe it was strength. I exhaled slowly. I don't know when we lost each other, she wrote. I've been replaying everything, the arguments, the silences, those last dinners. I want to believe we could still find a way back. We aren't who we used to be, but maybe that's okay. Her tone shifted. You have flaws too, she admitted. You stopped trying. You disappeared long before I ever kissed anyone. I felt so alone for so long I forgot how to say it. And then came the plea. I'm not asking for everything. Just one more conversation. One chance to look at each other without all the noise. If you ever loved me, please answer. She signed it simply, Rachel. I stared at the screen for a long while, the cursor blinking like it was holding its breath. And then I typed without hesitation, Rachel, let's finish what we started. 6 words. Clean. Final. No qualifiers. I hit send and leaned back, breathing like my lungs belonged to me again. It wasn't that I didn't care anymore. I finally understood. She wasn't apologizing. She was throwing out a lifeline, hoping I was still drowning. But I wasn't. She never said sorry for the joke, or the kiss, or the months of sarcasm and distance that hollowed us out. She didn't want to fix what broke, just pretend it hadn't. And I wasn't interested in almost healing. A few days later, the divorce papers came, signed. No notes, no lipstick marks, just names and dates. That night, Kyle poured me a bourbon, sliding it across the counter like an offering. To closure, he said. I looked at the glass. Not closure, I whispered. Just the beginning, without her. He nodded, silent. Some endings don't need mourning. Some echo quietly, like rooms that feel bigger after someone leaves. And in that new space, that's where beginnings live. Divorce Court isn't cinematic. No gavel slams, no dramatic gasps. Just beige walls, tired lawyers, and endless paperwork. The only moment that felt final came when Rachel looked up as I walked in. She wasn't dressed in black like I imagined. She wore pale blue. The color she once said made her eyes brighter. Hair pulled back, no ring, no expression. Until she saw me. Something flickered. Regret, nostalgia, maybe both. I didn't ask. We sat across a narrow table. My lawyer slid the final page toward me. Final dissolution, he murmured. Rachel's pen hovered above the paper, paused. Then, barely audible above the buzzing fluorescent lights, she whispered, I left you something. I looked up. What? A voicemail last night? Her lawyer cleared his throat, a faint sound like he wished he could vanish into the wallpaper. Rachel's eyes flicked toward him, and with a single stroke of her pen, it was finished. No speeches, no goodbyes, just silence. When the meeting broke up, we stood. She lingered by the doorway, half-turned as though something pressed against her lips, a sentence she couldn't free. I stayed where I was. Hours later, I sat on the edge of Kyle's bed, staring down at my phone. One notification waited for me. A voicemail. I hesitated, thumb suspended above the screen, before finally pressing play. Her voice crackled through the tiny speaker, thinner than I remembered. Hey, I don't even know if you'll hear this. I've recorded it so many times and I still can't get it right, but I have to try. A pause, quick breath. That night, the talent show. It wasn't about the jokes. I was scared out of my mind. And laughing. That was the only armor I had. I didn't know how to say I felt alone. Didn't know how to admit we were unraveling. So I hid behind the punchlines. If they were loud enough, maybe no one would notice how quiet we were. Silence. Another breath, even smaller. I didn't want to break us. I just didn't know how to fix us. By the time I figured it out, you were gone. The message ended. I didn't listen again. I didn't need to. Even stripped bare, she wasn't asking for forgiveness, only to be understood. And I had nothing left to give her. I closed the voicemail and opened my laptop. Watched the grainy video of that night. Someone had uploaded it. Rachel on stage, beaming, delivering the line that split us in two, the crowd roaring, tables rattling with laughter, and me, frozen in the background, eyes fixed on her. Muted, I studied the flicker in her gaze, the way she glanced toward me the instant after the joke landed. Then I closed the tab, deleted the file, and whispered, not to her, but to myself. I won't forgive you, not even if you asked. It wasn't bitterness, wasn't revenge, it was the last scrap of dignity I still owned. I didn't toast to anything that day, didn't mark the moment, just breathed, slow, steady, and for the first time, the air didn't feel heavy. It felt like mine again. A year passed. 12 months since the papers, since the voicemail, since I walked away from a life of forced smiles and jokes that left scars. A year changes more than you think, if you let it. 2 months after the signatures, I quit my job. Couldn't stand those hallways anymore, the hushed rumors about the talent show still clinging to every corner. I found a new firm downtown, smaller, kinder, free of ghosts. The work was honest. My hands didn't shake at the end of the day. I started hiking. Me, who once faked allergies to avoid mowing the lawn. Now I'm up before dawn, climbing misty ridges, sipping coffee from a thermos while the world is still asleep. I moved into my own place. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but the lake glows in the distance when the weather's clear. Painted one wall deep green, bought books I used to ignore. Learned to cook meals that didn't start with eggs. And then there's Nora. We met in a dusty second-hand bookstore. I dropped a novel. She picked it up and spoiled the ending with a grin. I told her I hadn't read it yet. She laughed, apologized, too late, and we grabbed coffee. Then we did it again. She isn't loud. doesn't fill quiet moments with chatter. When she listens, she really listens. When I speak, she waits, not impatient, not performative, just present. Tonight, she's here with me at a company mixer, my new company. Nothing fancy, drinks, finger food, speeches. She's wearing a rust-colored dress, simple, effortless, somehow radiant. My hand rests lightly at the small of her back as we move through the crowd. A glass clinks. Someone cracks a weak joke about marriage. Polite laughter ripples around us. I glance at Nora. She smiles, not nervously, not for anyone else, just for me. Something in me clicks back into place. I hear the joke. I hear the laughter. I even laugh, quietly, without bracing for impact. For the first time in years, it doesn't hurt. Nora squeezes my hand. "You okay?" she asks softly. I nod. "Yeah, I am." Across the room, a story begins. Someone laughs too loudly. Lights flicker. Someone mutters about the catering. Ordinary chaos. No sharp edges. No ghosts waiting behind a microphone. Just me, standing in a room that no longer feels haunted. A man who stopped waiting for closure and built something better. Peace, and that's where this story ends. Thanks for walking through it with me. If it reached you, maybe you'll stay for the next one. Until then, take care.